welcome back if you are a returning viewer. I am going to be talking about my favorite winter reads. I wanted to just do the seasonal favorites, that you see popping around on BookTube, because it always looks fun and it's a nice way to kind of evaluate your reading year as you're going through your reading year. And I wanted to tell you, so I picked 8 favorites. 8 has always been my favorite number, and so I went with 8. So the first one is Shard of Glass by Emily Deady? Deady? I don't know how you say her last name, but I loved this Cinderella retelling. It had these really dark, fantastical elements, but it had the characterization that I love in a Cinderella retelling. And also it was not this insta-love that often happens in Cinderella retellings. There is the Cinderella character, and she is stuck living with her awful stepmother and stepsister. She just has one stepsister in this. And one night, 2 young men come seeking shelter on their way home. They're, seeking shelter from a storm, and but only one of them comes to knock on the door because they don't want to frighten her. So the one who comes in, and he's our Prince Charming character, but she doesn't know he's the Prince Charming character. So she has this really just dynamic conversation with him, and he's not used to people talking to him that way, and it's incredibly refreshing. And then to earn some extra money, she gets a job at the palace, and then she realizes, shoot, you were Prince Charming. He's not Prince Charming in this, but he's the Prince Charming character. And they just form this beautiful friendship that flowers into romance, and I loved the magical elements in it. It was this fantastical world. So there are, I think, 2 more fairy tale retellings in this series, and I would be interested. So thank you to anyone who recommended this one to me, because I would not have found it had not a couple of people recommended it. And then Maud, A Diary of a Victorian Lady by Maud Berkeley. I have gone on and on about this book, and I do feel a little bit bad because it is out of print. And I have looked on Abe Books, and I don't know if it was me or something else, but there are a lot less copies on there now. So just stalk Abe Books. You can get, books from Abe Books shipped to anywhere in the world. And just keep checking. I kind of had thought of reading it aloud for Victober, but here's the thing. It was published posthumously. It was not published until the 1970s. So is it still copyrighted? I would like to know if there's someone I could contact about this book. Yes, so I don't know, but it was a favorite book of the year. And then a really wonderful surprise. I had seen it recommended on Bookstagram several times, and that is Wintering by Katherine May. This is the most gentle and loving book for you to hear about the times when you're going through a period of strife, you're struggling, a period of suffering, how to take care of yourself and to not feel guilty about it, and how to hunker down and to know that these periods will come in your life. You can't expect to have a life that has no suffering in it, but to really hunker down and embrace those things that feed your soul and give you joy in that time. And it was a beautiful, loving book, and just a wonderful surprise. Then I have it right here, so I'll hold it up. I still can't really formulate how much I loved this book. Good gracious, did I love this book. It is just complex and deep, and so just all of the feelings, you feel them so deeply, and it has beautiful characters, and it has such an interesting plot, but it is slow, and it was almost agonizing to read it at first because it was so slow, but the characterization was there, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep pushing ahead with this. I'm willing for this to monopolize an entire week in my reading life if it means that it's going to be a favorite book. And it ended up being a favorite book, and it was so worth it. Sorsha, this character, is just so incredibly admirable, and I just have so much regard for her. Just lovely. I will say, trigger warning for sexual assault. It is not taken lightly in this. It's not, I think it's done in a very intentional way, but it is there, and it is kind of intense. I don't know if you can hear the stomping in the background. Those are not trolls. Those are just two little boys walking around. Then we have Her Caprice by Keira Dominguez. Regency romances. Sweet romance is the genre that these are. You know, it's a new genre that I never knew I always needed. Um, it's kind of genre bending, dare I say, a little bit of magic in there, and it was just the most amazing escape. I binged this over the course of 3 days. I was so immersed in it. I could not put it down, and I just look back and smile so much over the experience that was Her Caprice. Cannot wait to read The Telling Touch, which is the next book. And then Keira Dominguez has released The Sweet Rowan. So definitely more Keira Dominguez raving coming this year, I'm sure. And from what I hear from Jess at Dickens and Docs, her books only get better. So I mean, Her Caprice kind of blew my mind with how much I loved a romance. Can't wait then to read The Telling Touch and The Sweet Rowan. And then The Water Horse by Dick King-Smith. I will be talking more about this in a video with Peter, because I read it aloud to Peter, but I had no idea how much I was going to be charmed by this book. It just looks like this really sweet, simple children's story, and something about his writing style. He's just a really good storyteller. There's nothing really crazy unexpected that happens in this. I kind of had a good idea going in, but it was the way that he told it, and it just makes me want to read so much more Dick King-Smith. And he wrote so many children's books. So yes, very much looking forward to reading more by him as an author. Another surprise was The Other Bennett Sister. I went in with trepidation because so many hyped books disappoint me, and this just blew my mind. It was just the book that I was in the mood for. This, you know, Her Caprice and The Other Bennett Sister, these really gentle, historical romances. And just, I think of Mary Bennet so differently now after reading this. It is her story, and about half, you know, the first third is the plot of Pride and Prejudice, loosely. And then the next 2/3, I had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't realize so much was going to take place after the ending of Pride and Prejudice, but it was just really beautifully written. It felt so Austinian in its language. So many interesting characters that stayed true to Pride and Prejudice, except for a couple where I felt like she made some kind of artistic choices there. I don't know if I agreed with them, but it didn't at all detract from my enjoyment of the book. I loved The Other Bennett Sister, and I highly, highly recommend it. And then lastly, not a book, but a novella, and that is Janet's Repentance by George Eliot. Good gracious, did I like this. This is by far the most close to a Gaskell novel that out of anything I've read by George Eliot. And so ironic too, because I remember in Elizabeth Gaskell's letters, the first thing she read by George Eliot was Janet's Repentance, or she read Scenes of Clerical Life. So Janet's Repentance is one of the novellas in that. And Elizabeth Gaskell's just praises it to the heavens, and it's her favorite out of the series. And I'm just like, yeah, because it's like you're writing. And it occurred to me eventually that it is kind of a combination of The Tenant of Wildfell Hall and Cranford. I hope that intrigues you. And it is amazing that how much she packs in. It's just over 200 pages, I think. Maybe it's more like 260, but it feels very complete. My problem with like short stories and novellas is the brevity. And this, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. I hope people who like George Eliot or who like Elizabeth Gaskell would maybe try George Eliot with Janet's Repentance. That is my list of my favorite winter reads from 2021. I did not include December reads because I felt like that would feel rather repetitive from my favorite books of 2020. Thank you as always for watching. I will be back with another video soon. Bye.